In this video, I'm going to go over the process of how to do the paint scheme for the Brian Kinwald RC10. Now, this isn't meant to be a step-by-step tutorial. It's just kind of I guess you could say more of a guideline. Now, the body that I'm painting for this video is for Ari over at RC Retro. He's got a great YouTube channel. You should definitely go check him out. He's got a lot of great stuff on vintage RC, and I was happy to paint this for him. So for those of you who may not know, I was actually the one that painted the box art body for this re-release kit. And in the process, I was actually lucky enough to have one of Brian's actual bodies that he ran. And I'm not 100% sure if it was the one that he ran at the 93 Worlds. It was very similar. I tried to photo match it by identifying marks, and it looked like it possibly was. And that's really cool. I was actually able to use that to create the decal sheet for this kit as well. So it's a great experience and a great opportunity that I had there. Now, to lay out the paint scheme, I start out by sketching out the outer edges of the blue block areas on the outside of the body, trying to make them as straight and symmetrical as I can. Then I go back and add the gaps between the block areas. I don't know what else to call these. I'm just going to call them the block areas. As I'm doing this, I have the images of Brian's body up on my computer screen and look at them for reference. It doesn't have to be exact, just try to get it close enough. Once that's all done, it's time to draw the drips. This is probably the hardest part of the paint scheme. I suggest practicing on a piece of paper first before you try doing it on the actual body. The hard part is to make the curves smooth. Cutting them out is just as hard. It's one of the reasons why Brian used a Sharpie on the outside. It hides all these imperfections. Sometimes though, you might have to go back and make some corrections. Luckily, the Sharpie doesn't stick too well to the protective film on the Lexan bodies if not left on too long. So if you find it hard to remove, just use an alcohol wipe. The same process goes for the wing. The difference here is that I'm going to use the protective film as the mask. This makes it super easy. Just remember to draw everything in reverse. That helps. It helps a lot. Don't mess that up. Using a brand new blade, just follow the lines. The film is thin and doesn't require a lot of pressure to cut, especially with a brand new blade. Once it's all cut out, you can carefully remove the film from the area that is going to be sprayed black. Then it's time to mask the body. I prefer to use the 3M green tape. I find that it sticks much better than the blue tape. Using the lines as a guide, I like to line up the straight edge of the tape with that. When applying the tape, try to lay it down with as few folds and wrinkles as possible. You may have to make some relief cuts to do this. Continue around both sides of the body until you have the lines covered and smooth. You may find that cutting the smaller pieces of tape to ensure it lays flat works out better. The important thing is to not leave too many layers of tape in any one spot that you're going to need to cut through. Then it's time to cut the tape. Again, make sure you have a nice sharp blade in your hobby knife. You might have noticed that I modified my hobby knife. This just makes it easier to get into tight spaces without the handle hitting the sides of the body. When you cut the gaps between the blue areas, just cut a little small radius around the corners. That'll mimic what Brian did when he painted his body. Then it's just a matter of taking your time and following the lines. Once it's all cut out, use more tape to mask off the rest of the body that will be painted white. Just make sure you don't apply tape over your cut lines. Then using light coats, apply the black to both the body and the wing. Let the paint dry and keep building up layers until you get good coverage. This is usually about 3 to 4 coats. After the black has had time to dry completely, you can move on to removing the areas that will be painted blue, both on the wing and on the body. Then apply the blue the same way you did with the black in light coats. I'm using Tamiya translucent blue backed with silver. The blue on the body I had a chance to look at in person did have a metallic look. Of course, back then it was Patrick colors, and from my experience back in the day, it looked like candy blue backed with silver. So the Tamiya paints I used here is the closest match to that. After a few coats of the blue, back it with a light to medium coat of silver. Finally, the rest of the tape and film can be removed for the white. Then it's back to outside to spray the white. After the white is sprayed, the body itself is pretty much done. The wing, however, will need a little bit more painting since both sides will be visible. Back the entire wing with silver, let it dry, and finally paint it with black. And now for the most satisfying part of painting a body, removing the protective film and window glass. Then it's on to outlining the drips with a Sharpie. Now, Brian originally used a Sharpie not only to hide the imperfections in the drip edges, but to add a little bit of contrast. When doing the wing, it's much easier to outline the drips with the front edge cut out. And then the famous game over text is written on the wing. It may help to practice writing this on a separate piece of paper. There you have it. The paint scheme is actually pretty easy if you take your time. Yes, I did paint 3 of these at the same time. One is for myself, one was for a coworker, and of course the one for Ari. Ari, I hope you enjoy the body I sent back to you and can't wait to see the build finished.